A big win for the Philadelphia Eagles against the Denver Broncos, 30-13. Is it crazy to be talking playoffs with this team? We'll talk about it all. Roll the intro.
This is the Legal Hands to the Face podcast with Bill Colarulo.
All right, guys, Bill Colarulo back with another Legal Hands to the Face podcast. A big win yesterday for the Philadelphia Eagles as they continue this new offensive identity of running the football. Yesterday, the Eagles offense puts up another 214 yards on the ground. That's over 600 yards rushing in the last 3 weeks. It's a little frustrating that it took them this long to figure it out, but it looks like they have finally figured out a formula that works. They are now the second leading rushing team in the entire NFL. And when you look at the statistics from yesterday, man, it's impressive. Jordan Howard, 12 carries for 83 yards for an average of 6.9 yards a carry. Boston Scott, 11 carries for 81 yards, 7.4 yards a carry. I mean, these are crazy averages. That offensive line is opening up some massive holes for these running backs. Miles Sanders is supposed to come back. I think it's a good thing. They're going to have to figure out how they can spread the ball around. I think you'll see Kenny Gainwell maybe deactivated on game days, but you're going to have 3 running backs now that can run the football. Nick Sirianni, we've complained about his play calling in the past, did a really nice job yesterday of mixing in the runs, mixing in the screen passes, threw the ball appropriately. And what have we talked about? The formula to win with this team, with the defense that they have, is to win the time of possession battle. And by running the football as effectively as they have been doing it, they're winning that time of possession battle. In the first half yesterday, the Eagles had the ball for close to 21 minutes versus only 9 minutes for the Denver Broncos. That is a formula for this defense and this team to win. They end up finishing the game 34 versus 25 minutes in the time of possession battle. I've been saying that from week 1. Win the time of possession battle, and you will win a lot of games in the NFL. They also did another great thing. I say it every week. Good teams put up points before the end of halves. They did it again yesterday. You would have loved to have seen it be a touchdown. Hurts throws a beautiful pass to Quez Watkins, goes right through his hands. But they still get the field goal with no time left on the clock, putting up points at the end of halves. That's what good, successful football teams do. And with that new formula, you saw what it can do for your quarterback. You know, we talked about in the beginning of the year that Jalen Hurts was still essentially a rookie quarterback. He had only played in a handful of games last year. He's still finding his comfort in the NFL, and you were putting too much pressure on him. You were requiring him to do too much. By running the football effectively, you saw what it did for Jalen Hurts yesterday in the passing game. In the first half, probably the best half we have ever seen from Jalen Hurts as a throwing quarterback. He goes 15 of 20 yesterday for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half alone. Second half, he only had to throw the ball 3 times because they were able to run the ball, they were able to move the chains. But that first half shows this guy can be your franchise quarterback. I've said it before, he's not going to be a Patrick Mahomes. He's not going to win you games by throwing 400 yards every week. But with the right formula of running the football, mixing in the play action pass, mixing in the run pass option, letting him run the ball effectively, he can win you football games. And he has that intangible of being a leader, of being a guy who wants the ball in his hands at the big moments. In addition to going for 178 yards in the air yesterday, he also carries the ball 14 times for 53 yards. And you saw his decision-making was just so good yesterday. He knew where the ball needed to go. He didn't immediately panic and run out of the pocket. He tried to make some time, move around in the pocket, throw the ball downfield. He ran appropriately. He threw appropriately. Just a great game by Jalen Hurts, a great game by Nick Sirianni in the play calling, and a great game by our birthday boy, Devontae Smith. Turns 23 years old yesterday, has 4 catches, 66 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's on my fantasy team, so I was happy. But you just see this offense really starting to come into its own. There's some young players on this team to get excited about on that offense. Landon Dickerson looks good too at the guard, really doing a good job of run blocking. So there's things to be excited about with the offense. And what we've been complaining about every week has been mostly the defense, but the defense does a great job yesterday, holding the Denver Broncos to only 13 points, getting the turnover and turning it into a touchdown on the Darius Slay. Big play Slay, keeps living up to his nickname. Great touchdown there on a short yardage play. Davion Taylor, a young linebacker. We talked last week about, hey, who can we get excited about on this defense that's young? Well, Davion Taylor continues to impress, does a great job forcing that fumble yesterday. Slay picks it up, goes the other way for a touchdown. Love to see that. They put more pressure on Bridgewater, only get 1 sack from Derek Barnett. Man, thank goodness Derek Barnett, because it seems all he wants to do is commit penalties. At least he gets us a sack yesterday. But they did such a great job. And when you look at the stat of third down efficiency and red zone efficiency for your defense, it really tells the tale about how successful they were. The Broncos were only 1 of 11 yesterday on third down. That is a huge statistic. The Philadelphia Eagles were able to get their defense off the field 10 out of 11 times yesterday when the Broncos were in third down. That is massive. And then maybe just as important, if not more important, we've talked before about how Gannon likes to have this, bend but don't break type of defense. Well, if you're going to have a defense like that, when the other team gets into the red zone, you have to make sure that you are not giving up touchdowns. The Broncos were in the red zone 5 times yesterday. They only scored once. They were 1 out of 5 in the red zone. That is a great stat, a great job by your defense. And then looking at the other side, special teams. They get the blocked field goal when the Broncos get into the red zone. So just a great, great job. And we talked about, in the weeks past, this defense seems to play pretty well when they're not playing your upper echelon quarterbacks. I went back and looked. Against the Atlanta Falcons, now Matt Ryan used to be an upper echelon quarterback. He's getting a little bit older. Against the Atlanta Falcons, they only give up 6 points. Against the 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo, 17 points. The Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold, 18 points. The Detroit Lions and Jared Goff, 6 points. And the Denver Broncos yesterday with Teddy Bridgewater, only 13 points. When this defense is not playing against these upper echelon quarterbacks, they're actually playing pretty well. They're giving their team a chance to win. They help. The most points scored against them against non-upper echelon quarterbacks was only 18 points. You hold NFL offenses to 18 points or less, you're giving your team a chance to win every single week. And the reason why that is important is we're talking about playoffs now. Said it last week. May have thought I was crazy. The Eagles are only 1 game out of the playoffs. If the season was to end today, the teams that are getting in are 5-5. Eagles are 4-6. Remember, there's 7 teams that make the playoffs now. They changed the format. If you look at the Eagles' remaining schedule, so there's 7 games left. It's a 17-game season. They do not play an upper echelon quarterback again until the last week of the year with Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys. Their next 6 games, you play the New Orleans Saints, who their quarterback situation is in disarray. I guess it's Trevor Sideman. I don't even remember his name. That's how bad their quarterback situation is. But you got him, you got Taysom Hill, Trevor Siemian, that's how you pronounce his name. Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, definitely not upper echelon quarterbacks. Then you're going to play the New York Giants twice and Daniel Jones. You're going to play the Washington football team twice, and they've been starting Heineke. I don't know if you would consider him an upper echelon quarterback. Definitely not. Then you're playing the Jets. I don't know if you're going to get Mike White. You're going to get Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson was their first-round draft pick this year. So you don't have these upper echelon quarterbacks in the next 6 weeks. The Eagles are either going to be favored or pretty close in the spread the next 6 weeks. That means if they can string together some wins, even if they go 5-1 over the next 6 games, that means they're going to be going into that last game of the season against Dallas at 9-7. That may be good enough to make it to the playoffs this year. You may get in the playoffs at 9-8. I think 10-7 definitely would get you there. So the Eagles have a real shot here with the quarterbacks that they're going to be playing in the next few weeks. So that brings us to this coming week. They play the New Orleans Saints, who, like I said, they have Simeon at quarterback because Jameis Winston's out for the year with a knee injury. They lost Drew Brees in the offseason. He retires. They mix in Taysom Hill like they've always done with running the football. But this is a team that the Eagles should be able to beat. The Saints have lost 2 games in a row. Their offense is not a high-powered offense anymore. It's not the Saints of old. Your defense should be able to do enough. Now, what I'm really curious to see is now the offense has formed this new identity of being able to run the football. The New Orleans Saints have the best rushing defense in the NFL. They have given up the least amount of yards. They've given up the least amount of yards per carry. So what's going to give here? Hopefully, Sirianni has learned over the last few weeks that you continue to do what your team is good at. Let's see if this Eagles offense can continue to run the football even against the best rushing defense in the NFL. And I think they can, because it all starts with that offensive line. And now that offensive line is starting to form, there's still some injuries there, but the unit they have right now have been playing together for the last few weeks with Mailata and Dickerson and Kelsey and Driscoll and Lane Johnson. I think they're going to still be able to do good things. This is an offensive line that is a very, very good run-blocking offensive line. You saw the holes they were able to open up yesterday. So let's see what they can do against a really good defense. And more importantly, this is a home game for the Eagles. They are 0-4 at home. Something has to give here. They're 4-6, but they're 0-4 at home. Let's hope that they can get a win for the people who are going to be down there going nuts at the link. It's going to be rocking. Let's hope that they can get a win this weekend, and I think that they will. I think you'll see same type of formula you saw this week. They're going to run the football. They're going to win the time of possession battle, and that defense is going to be able to put some pressure on Simeon, the quarterback for the Saints, maybe cause a turnover or two, and you will see the Eagles get their record up to 5-6 after this week with a real shot of making a playoff push at the end of this season with what we know about this upcoming schedule. And then that brings us to our Wentz Watch and our Dolphins Watch. Not a great week for our Wentz Watch and our Dolphins Watch. The Dolphins played Thursday night against the Ravens. They should have lost that game. They upset the Ravens and they win, raising their record to 3-7. That draft pick would still be a top 5 pick. And then Carson Wentz, the good news, he plays 100% of the snaps. The bad news, they played the Jacksonville Jaguars. They almost blew it, but they win the game, raising their record to 5-5. So although that looks like it's going to be a first-round pick, probably not going to be that high of a pick. But again, the Eagles should have 3 first-round draft picks going into next year. And the most important thing for this season, we've talked about playoffs. I'd love to see the Eagles make a playoff push. But the important thing for this season is to determine if Jalen Hurts can be your franchise quarterback. If you don't have to use those 3 first-round draft picks to make a move for a veteran quarterback or move up in the draft to draft one of these top guys that are going to be coming out of college, it allows you to use those 3 first-round draft picks for other areas. And what I've said in weeks past, and it continues to hold true, we need some young talent on the defensive side of the ball. We've seen what we have on offense. You have young talent on offense with your offensive line and your quarterback and your running back and your wide receivers. Maybe add a piece or two to the offensive line. But when you go to the defensive side of the football, our defensive line is getting older. Not a lot of young guys to get excited about. As much as I've been impressed with our linebacking core the last couple of weeks with Davion Taylor and TJ Edwards, you'd like to maybe see an upgrade there. In the secondary, outside of Avonte Maddox, there's not a lot of younger guys that you could get excited about. We've said it. Darius Slay, great corner. He's getting older. Steven Nelson on a 1-year deal. Anthony Harris on a 1-year deal. Rodney McLeod, he's starting to get into the end of his career. So if the Eagles can figure out that Jalen Hurts can be the guy, then you can use these draft picks in the upcoming draft to really get some difference makers on that defense. And I think the Eagles could have a really good team in years to come. But who's going to be calling the shots in that draft room? Is it going to be Howie Roseman? His history of drafting defensive players has not been good, so we will see what happens. But other than that, as Eagles fans, it's Victory Monday. We can get excited. The playoffs are not a crazy, crazy thing to be considering. You like to see what the Eagles have done over the last few weeks. Let's hope they can keep it rolling. We're 4-6. Saints are coming to town. The Eagles will win this weekend. Curious to hear all of your guys' thoughts. If you're watching along on Facebook or YouTube, comment below. Do you think Jalen Hurts is the guy? Do you like what you're seeing out of Nick Sirianni? Does this defense make you feel a little bit better? Against these quarterbacks that aren't the Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady's of the world, they're actually playing pretty well. Can that continue over the next few weeks with the quarterbacks who are coming to town? Curious to hear what your guys' thoughts are. And if you're not following along, what are you waiting for? Legal Hands to the Face podcast. We're on all your favorite podcast platforms, Facebook and YouTube. So be sure to like and subscribe, share, comment below. Go Birds.